Hey, what's going on, everyone? New World Order Survival Guy. Today, I want to talk about alternative routes to the point of not going into those gridlocked metropolitan areas. If shit hits the fan, you need to escape the city or major towns. Obviously, taking them highways are not the way to go. It's going to cause a whole lot of craziness that you may not have thought of. Going down the highway, get the hell out of there. Shit's going crazy. You just want to get out of the city. You leave everything behind. Get out. Okay. The thing is, everybody else has that plan too. Even if they're not shit hit the fan savvy or anything like that, they want out. They're going to a family members in a different part of the state, out of the state, out of the city, whatever. People are getting the hell out. You get caught in that gridlock traffic, you're screwed. Those highways are highly congested, and not to mention, you're going to be stuck there and not be able to get off. If you do get off, who's to say you're going to get gas? It's not probable. Them gas stations will either be closed. It's just depending on the situation. The electrical can be down and those pumps will be shut off. I mean, just a barrage of shit happening. You want to leave town, and that's only the beginning of your journey. Leaving town, there's what options do you have? You have the highway. You have the side streets. You have the access roads. It's all going to be the same. It'd be nice to pack all your stuff in to your vehicle. That way you can fit a bunch of stuff in there and head out. But if you don't leave early enough, it's not probable. So what you may need to consider, unless you're sharp, unless you're quick, and you can leave before everybody else does. That's why people always say, first sign of shit kicking off, head out first. But people that have jobs and everything else, and there's always the boy that cried wolf and stuff like that. There's a lot of that stuff going on. So, some alternatives to that are bicycles, ATVs, UTVs, some off-road type of vehicle, dirt bike. You're not going to be able to carry much stuff on a bicycle or a dirt bike, but they do make trailers, or you can makeshift a trailer for some of them devices to use to pack some stuff to head out. And then you can go on the highway and you can weave off and you can squeeze through a lot of that traffic. But you need to get a bike for that. You need to get an off-road vehicle for that. Stuff like that. My issue my point is that it's going to be very difficult to navigate out of those kind of areas with a regular vehicle. You could have an RV, you could be all fully set, and you're going down the highway and you're stuck. And then you're idling and stuff like that. You're turning your car on and off, and it's going to be days before you get out of certain areas. You're going to be stuck like Chuck. You're going to run out of gas. You may have a gas can. You're going to go try to get some gas. And time you come back, your shit's going to be gone through. It's going to be ransacked. It's not going to be probable. You got to think realistically here. You have to find alternative ways and have backup plans for everything. If you're not leaving on time, have your other means to do so. Those of you like LA and stuff, you got riverbeds and stuff like that. Even though those can be dangerous at times, those riverbeds, they go through a lot of ghettos and stuff like that, and you know, it can be easy pickings for some of these people out there to go ahead and rob you or whatever. It may be your only option, other than, you know, you could take bicycle four-wheelers and just little trailer packed full of shit. If you have a bigger family, obviously you need multiple of those. You just need to get outside the city limits. Once you get outside the city limits, your options broaden tremendously. So that's mainly the point I want to talk about. I mean, get out of the city. Once you're out of the city, remember, don't try to rely on gasoline and stuff like that if possible. If you have a clean slate, getting the hell out of there, do so. But once you run out of gas, you got all this shit that you took with you, you're going to dump it. And from then on, you have to carry whatever's on your back. Now, even if you do have cans of gasoline on reserve in your vehicle as you're traveling out, you're going to use it because you're going to be stuck. Not to mention accidents, roadblocks, cutoffs. They can pinch off a bridge or anything. So realistically, plan for, like, it'd be smart if you're taking a car, have a bike on the back, or you have a truck with the four-wheeler on the back, fully equipped. There's a good option. But once you make it outside the damn city, it's time to think about what you're going to do. You have, and this is in the city or outside the city, you have railroads. I've stressed this many times before. Railroads, that's why it's so important to get a railroad map, because they can guide you outside in directions. Keep in mind, railroads are private, but in a shit hits the fan scenario, who gives a shit? Technically, you're only allowed to cross it in designated areas that have lights and stuff like that. And I say it could be, if you violate it, $100 to $1,000 fines. But you know, nobody gives a shit. When shit hits the fan, that's irrelevant. Just like any other laws, basically. Most other laws. But railroad books, navigation of the railroad systems, little pricey, but absolutely available. You get it, you can follow those out. It just depends where your destination is going to be. You don't necessarily have to walk on the damn railroad like it's some freaking, some skit or something like that. You're using it as a guideline to go where you need to go. If you have a railroad destination book or map, you know, okay, you can follow the railroad and you know where it's going to lead to. You can walk along the side of it and head down and you're fine. They have, like bridges and tunnels and stuff like that. That's what you got to be careful for, because those bridges and tunnels and stuff like that are made for the train. So there's no room really in there for pedestrians to go and, and duck to the side or something like that. You're going to run into a world of shit, if you make that decision and you come to realize, wow, yeah, this is pretty tight in here. So it is illegal. You have bridges, you have tunnels and trestles, and just keep in mind there's no room for civilians in those areas. So you have to be quick, you have to be slick, or you're going to have your timing right and stuff like that. But nonetheless, it is a way to travel through cities, towns, and industrial areas, as well as out in the middle of nowhere, if you know your destination. It's good to have those maps. Sometimes some of these type maps, they'll have like a little train, little emblem thing that shows the routes through there, and you won't need a train map, but it's best to get a train map if that's what you're thinking about doing. So it's a big decision. Everything can be dangerous, very dangerous, to use different means of escape routes through navigation. Another one, once you get out of major metropolitan areas, could be rivers and streams. Now, the thing about rivers and streams, you go downriver, you have the bigger bodies of water and stuff like that. But those are where the biggest towns and biggest population is near those bigger bodies of water, generally speaking, most of the time. So if you want, like for instance, you ain't got a destination, you want to make it to somewhere that is just strictly survival, and some of you might disagree with me, but let's hear your points of view on that, because I believe this is the right way, and it's going upstream. Upstream sounds more logical because you're getting away from the bigger population of people. You're getting away from the blunt of the heat. You don't have as much crap in the water from dead animals and stuff like that in the lower section than you do in the upper elevation. It's fresher water from the source. The lower you get, the more contaminated it's going to be, period. You see the Colorado River and like Arizona, it's brown. It's from the crap from the mountains and stuff like that all throughout the canyon, the rust coming out from the dirt. It's brown. Up where I'm at in Colorado, it's definitely not brown. It's not clear, but as you go upstream a little bit more, it's pretty clear stream water, real fresh. So the higher you go up, the better, and less population. It's going to be less population upstream of a river. So take that in consideration. You talk about survival and you're not going to a destination. You just want to go someplace to try to survive. Think about going upstream to a river. Also, you can take trailways, trail systems. You have national trail systems, which include like the Pacific Trail. You have the Continental Trail. You have a few of them throughout the country, like major trails that go from like Mexico to Canada. That's something you may want to consider. You have rail trails, which are old, non-used railways that they converted into a trail, which you can use for off-road vehicles, hiking, biking, anywhere. So you have nature trails. You have, let's see, wilderness trails, historic trails. There's many types of trails. Obviously, you don't want to do a loop trail or a horseshoe trail because those are just literally being going in circles. So there's different means of navigation without streets and highways, which are going to be dangerous. To me, they're going to be more dangerous than these trails. Yeah, you can get weirdos and you can get all this crap in these other trails. But like highways, people are going to be in vehicles. They're going to ready to do whatever crime to you, take your shit and head down the road. You're going to get a lot more of that. So you want to consider taking some of these alternative routes that you're going to deal with a lot less people. Because this can be crazy. People are going to be flipping. People are going to be killing, robbing. They're going to be doing all sorts of inhumane type things that are going to put a damper on a lot of people's plans. So let me put these back on. So when you're hiking through these trails and stuff like that, and these riverbeds, you can cross rivers, you can cross streams. Shoes, make sure you have good shoes. They can always be dried out. Have a good hiking stick or good trekking poles. Not only can you use them as to trek through stuff and balance yourself out and stuff like that, but they can also be an improvised weapon, especially if it's a big old hickory stick or something like that. So you come in, you have two split rivers. If you're going a certain direction and you may come back, when those rivers split, you can always put like ribbon or some kind of marking of something, tie it on a tree so you can tell which way you need to go back. You may get confused, especially in an area that you're not familiar with. Rivers, upstream, downstream, you have hunting, you have fishing, whatever there's water, there's animals. Also bugs. Bugs are going to be detrimental to your well-being, especially when you have some nasty-ass mosquitoes that carry all kinds of crap. That's why it's so important to do your research on your surroundings or a potential route that you're going to take, so you know everything. You have as much information as you know. There are maps that are dedicated to trails, whether it's biking, off-roading, hiking, or anything like that. There's dedicated trails on these maps that show you exactly where all this stuff is. You have wilderness trails that are not really upkept like the more common trails, but those are a good option to use because there'll be a lot less people rather than the maintained trails. Now, always be aware of wild animals, be aware what's out there, and be ready to defend yourself on such animals, such as bears, mountain lions, wolves, coyotes, and even snakes and stuff like that. And then you get to the bugs, spiders. Be cautious, be prepared. They say, oh, bears ain't gonna do nothing, blah, blah, blah. That's bullshit. There's consistent amount of people that are getting attacked by bears and other wild animals. It's best to take precautions, and chances are more likely they're not gonna do anything, especially if you take the right precautions. But there's a chance that you will be attacked, and you have to know what to do to keep yourself and your family safe from those incidences. So back to the rivers. You want the cleanest water, right? Because up higher elevation, rivers and streams, less chance of pathogens and bacteria from animals that defecate or urinate inside the water streams, animals dying in the water that create nasty bacteria, less pollutants. You need water to clean yourself. It's an extra bonus rather than only drinking water. You need water to clean, to drink, to just add for cooking and all sorts of stuff. Water is very essential, and wherever you go to survive, you got to be somewhere close to water. And if you go downstream, you're going to be semi-close to water. So is everybody else. Because most people ain't going to go that far upstream. I was looking up this topic and I didn't see anything on this subject, which is a shame with all these survivalists and stuff like that. It might have been some out there, but I looked and I didn't see any. Zero. So, and it's a very important topic. You need to go, obviously, where there's less people. Obviously, where you have freshest water. And then you can be fairly close. You never want to camp out and pack out right next to a river. You want to be out like 100 yards or so like that. But very critical thinking right here. So, railroad tracks, good option. You stay to the side, whatever. If you're going to cross them bridges or go through them tunnels, be extremely careful, because chances are, you're not going to hear. I mean, them trains go pretty damn fast. When you're out in the middle of nowhere and them trains hoofing, man, they're going over 55 miles an hour. So, yeah, that they're gonna move fast, especially if you're in the middle of a tunnel and that train's coming out. And I've shot guns which are known loud, just boom kind of guns. I've been in places where I shot those guns and it said, it sounded like a BB gun. It's because, especially in a wide area, there's no echoing matter such as rocks and mountains and stuff like that, where you get the full sound of stuff. You're you're screwed if you're going through a tunnel or in the middle of a big long bridge that goes over a canyon or something like that, and then here comes a flying train. What are you gonna do? You know, it's crazy. You have to jump off. I mean, this ain't Stand By Me. You know, I mean, your luck is not going to be in your favor, chances are. So that's basically all I got. I just want to talk to you guys about alternative routes other than stupid highways and byways and streets and access roads. You guys consider looking into alternative routes, alternative means of transportation. Rivers and streams are a good one. Even old dry creeks to get you from point A to point B. But following rivers and stuff like that, and not to mention, if you run into trouble upstream, let's just say, you know, you could always float down that river to get the hell out of there. Possibly. Remember, you go down the rivers, you float on your back. You have your legs up in front of you, on your butt and back, and have your arms out like that. Because a lot of these rivers, like such as the Colorado River, here by me, they have these eddies that will suck you under, and they won't let you out till you're dead. So you got to be careful of that. Some of the most experienced swimmers cash out because of these eddies. So, and not to mention, there's debris, there's broken branches, and people throw furniture or whatever in there. There's a lot of sharp objects in there. It'll cut your ass wide open. You got to be careful. But at least on the side, upstream, it's a better bet than being on that damn highway or some of these rural roads and stuff like that, where you get these backwood ass people that, you know, they're secure in their where they're at and stuff like that. So you gotta be careful of people. So research, books if need be. If you're taking railroads, there's books on these rivers and streams. You could probably even possibly chart them out as you look at them online. But so that's all I have for you tonight. Please like, share, subscribe. New World Order Survival Guy. Thank you for watching. Catch you on the next one.